Hi everyone. I haven't had a chance to read a book to you in a little while. And today is Zoo Lovers Day, I found online, not to be confused with National Zookeeper Day, which is in July. So I'm going to read you a book called Wild About Books that takes place at the zoo. It's a rhyming book, so listen for the rhymes. And this is a story about all the animals at the zoo, and they love books. This is by Judy and pictures by Mark Brown. Wild About Books. Now, here's the public library bookmobile driving through the city and heading into the ZOO. I'll read first and then show you the pictures. You know why. It started the summer of 2002 when the Springfield librarian, Molly McGrew, by mistake drove her bookmobile into the zoo. Molly opened the door, and she let down the stair, turned on the computer, and sat in her chair. At first all the animals watched from a distance, but Molly could conquer the strongest resistance. That means that Molly could convince them to like anything. Those animals are all very curious, you can see in the pictures. They're all looking out of some building at the zoo, but they don't know what she is all about, do they? Who's this person who's coming with a computer and a book? By reading aloud from the good Dr. Seuss, she quickly attracted a mink and a moose, a wombat, an oryx, a lemur, a lynx, 8 elephant calves, and a family of skinks. Now, those are some animals you haven't even heard of before, I'm sure. Those are the skinks right there. Just so you know, this is the lemur up in the tree. Their elephant calves are the elephant babies. And I can't remember everything else that was in there right now, but let's keep reading. Do you hear some of the rhyming words? Look at all the animals coming along to find out what's going on there at that bus with Molly McGrew, the librarian. In a flash, every beast in the zoo was stampeding to learn all about this new something called reading. Forsaking their niches, their nests, and their nooks. That just means all the places where they live. So that means giving up, leaving the places where they live. So forsaking their niches, their nests, and their nooks, they went wild, simply wild, about wonderful books, choosing thin books and fat books and cat in the hat books and new books and true books and heaps of how-to books. Look what the animals are doing. Giraffes wanted tall books. Here you go. Crickets craved small books. Well, geckos could only read stick-to-the-wall books. Let's see what else they wanted. I can't read that one backwards. The pandas demanded more books in Chinese. Who knows why they wanted books in Chinese, the pandas? Because pandas come from China. So pandas wanted books in Chinese. Molly filled their requests, always eager to please. She even found waterproof books for the otter, who lives in the water, who never went swimming without Harry Potter. Raccoons read alone, and baboons read in bunches, and llamas read dramas while eating their lunches. Hyenas shared jokes with the red-bellied snakes, and they howled and they hissed till their funny bones ached. Those are the hyenas, the laughing hyenas and the snakes. The hyenas are reading a joke book. That's why they're laughing so much. The laughing hyenas. A tree kangaroo who adored Nancy Drew. She's a detective. She's a mystery detective, a mystery story person. I used to read the Nancy Drew books. A tree kangaroo who adored Nancy Drew began solving mysteries right there at the zoo, such as, why were the Bandicoots books overdue? Look closely at the picture. This little guy with the curly tail. Let me get him up there. Here he is. Right here. Okay, that's a bandicoot. Why were his books overdue? Anyone have an idea? What's he using his books for? He's reading one of them. Did you guess it? The bandicoot used his books, all his Nancy Drew books, in fact, to build a house for himself. His books were overdue. He didn't get them back in time. They were overdue from the bookmobile library because he was making a house out of them. He wasn't planning to return his books. He didn't understand the rules. Gently Molly taught lessons in treating books right, for the boa constrictor squeezed Crichter too tight. Crichter is the name of a story, and the boa constrictor strangled it too tightly. It's a story about a boa constrictor, actually. So she's teaching him not to squeeze the books. We should have read this book at the beginning of the year, huh? Baby bunnies mucked up Goodnight Moon with their paws. Goodnight Moon, as you might know, is one of my favorite stories from when I was little like you guys. Goodnight Moon is a story about a bunny going to bed. So the bunnies are reading Goodnight Moon. Baby bunnies mucked up Goodnight Moon with their paws, and giant termites devoured the Wizard of Oz. Devoured means that they ate it all up quickly. Now that's a play on words, because devoured also means if you're devouring a book, it means you're reading it so fast and you're so interested that you can't put it down. But the termites were really devouring it. They were really eating the book. So Molly McGrew had to teach them how to treat books right. And the bears' love of books was completely outrageous. They licked all the pictures right off of the pages. Okay. I'll show you the pictures, and then I'll read the words. There's the penguins. We like penguins in our class. Tasmanian devils found books so exciting that soon they had given up fighting for writing. They made up adventures so thrilling and new that the others decided to be authors too. Pythons wrote with their tails. Penguins wrote with their bills. And porcupines wrote with their very own quills. So now, not only did they love listening, they started writing their own books. There are the pythons writing with their tails. These guys are down here on the typewriter. Penguins are writing with their bills. Here's the porcupine using his quill. Back in the old days before I was born, they used to use those quills, bird quills from feathers, to dip into ink and write with those. A long time ago. Let's see. The famous porcupine spy, slippery flippers on the ice, the famous porcupine doctor, the famous porcupine baseball player, the famous porcupine detective. That's what this porcupine's writing about. Pages and pages. At the new insect zoo, bugs were scribbling haiku. The scorpion gave each a stinging review. Haiku is a form of poetry, which we're talking about this month. And it's where you write poems with a certain number of syllables in each of 3 lines. So 5 syllables or claps, as we sometimes do, and then 7 claps, and then 5 claps again. So the walking stick wrote, sorry guys, I have to read this way. A cannibal twig silently devours a leaf, eating, not eaten. And the scorpion said, pretentious. He didn't like it. He thought that was, well, too much. The dung beetle wrote, roll a ball of dung. Any kind of poo will do. Baby beetle bed. Because dung beetles lay their eggs in poop. Did the scorpion like that? He said, stinks. The millipede, the one with 1,000 legs, give or take, said, I dig for treasure in my enchanted castle, a rotten apple. The millipede likes to dig in things like rotten fruit. And the scorpion said, boring. And the giant hissing cockroach said, hiss, 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 hiss. Hiss, 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 hiss. Hiss, 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 hiss. And the scorpion said, redundant. And that means you're repeating yourself. All right. As the cheetah's new novel began to take shape, he read chapters each night to the Barbary ape. And although the gazelle couldn't spell very well, like everyone else, she had stories to tell. Imagine the hippo's enormous surprise when her memoir was given the Zulitzer Prize. Her memoir, her story about herself. There's the hippo. And here's the cheetah reading to the Barbary ape. It was a dark and stormy night. The wind howled. The moon cast a mournful yellow glow. Dogs wailed in the distance. That's the cheetah's story. Oh my goodness, with so many new books, Molly knew what to do. She hired 12 beavers, a stork, and a gnu to build a branch library there at the zoo. Then the animals cried, we can do it ourselves. We can check the books out. We can put them on shelves. And they did, and they do to this very day. 3 cheers for the zoobrary. Hip, hip, hooray. The animals built their own library for the books that they've written. Hip, hip, hooray, she's saying. When you visit the zoo now, you surely won't mind if the animals seem just a bit hard to find. They are snug in their niches, their nests and their nooks, going wild, simply wild, about wonderful books. So here they are. Here's people coming to watch the animals, and they're getting to see all the animals reading. That's the end. This book is for our favorite doctor, artist, poet, fun concoctor, Theodore Seuss Geisel. That's who she wrote the book for, Judy Sierra. And that man is Dr. Seuss. Wild about books. So think for a minute. This is kind of a long video, but let's think for a minute. If you went to the zoo and you saw animals reading books, what would you think about that? Think about that. And maybe let me know. Have your mom or dad send me a little text or something. Also, let's do thumbs up. Thumbs up if you liked the book. Thumbs down if you didn't. In fact, have your mom and dad send me thumbs up or thumbs down on Remind, or yes or no. And then I will take all of your answers and I will make them into a chart, and then we'll take a look, like we used to sometimes do with books. How many liked the book and how many didn't like the book. And then we'll see which side has more, okay? All right, wild about books. I will talk to you soon. We're also going to read a poem today. Okay, take care, guys. See you in a bit. Bye.